Chapter 1. Homecoming. Summers pressed her hands against the steering wheel and took a slow, steady breath as she approached the familiar streets of her hometown. Years away had made the roads and houses feel both comforting and strangely foreign. The autumn air carried the crisp scent of fallen leaves and distant wood smoke. It reminded her of childhood walks and evenings spent chasing the sun across these very streets. She had left town with a mixture of excitement and fear, chasing opportunities in a bustling city that had promised everything and yet given so little in return. Now, returning felt like stepping into a memory she had tried to keep tucked away. Her eyes scanned the familiar storefronts and old brick sidewalks, each one whispering stories of days long past. Lily parked near the little square and hesitated before stepping out of the car. The sound of laughter and the faint clinking of shop bells greeted her. She was halfway down the street when she nearly collided with someone. "I'm so sorry," she said, looking up into a pair of familiar hazel eyes. Noah Carter stood there, holding a stack of books that looked far too heavy for his arms. His warm smile spread slowly across his face, the same smile that had once lit up her entire childhood. "Lily Summers," he said, his voice a mix of surprise and something softer, something unspoken. "You're back." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The years melted away as if they had been nothing more than a pause in time. Lily noticed the slight lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before, the way his hair caught the sunlight, and the familiar calmness in his presence. It was a comfort she had not realized she had missed so deeply. "I didn't expect to see you here," she said, her voice quieter than she intended. "Neither did I," Noah admitted. "The bookstore has kept me busy, but it seems fate wanted to make sure we ran into each other." He adjusted the stack of books in his arms and looked at her with a mixture of curiosity and something warmer that made her chest tighten. The memory of summers spent exploring the town, laughing until their sides hurt, and sharing dreams about the future came rushing back. She remembered the small moments that had once seemed ordinary but now felt extraordinary in retrospect. He had been a part of every corner of her childhood, and seeing him again brought back a surge of emotions she had not anticipated. They walked together for a few steps, neither really sure what to say next. Around them, the town carried on with its quiet rhythm, and for a fleeting moment, it felt as though they were the only two people in the world. Lily realized that home was not just a place. It was a feeling, and that feeling had been waiting for her all along in the form of a familiar smile and the warmth of someone who had always known her. "I suppose we have a lot to catch up on," Noah said finally, his tone light but carrying a hint of something deeper. Lily nodded, a small smile forming on her lips. "I suppose we do." And as they continued down the street together, the golden leaves swirling around their feet, Lily felt a quiet, steady sense of belonging. Perhaps coming home was exactly what she had needed, and perhaps some connections were never really lost. Chapter 2. Autumn sparks. Crisp autumn morning smelled of wood smoke and damp leaves as Lily stepped outside her temporary rental home. The town seemed smaller than she remembered, but it carried a warmth that the city had never offered. Golden leaves twirled lazily from the trees lining the streets, and the faint laughter of children echoed from the park nearby. Today was the day of the annual autumn festival, a tradition she had loved as a child, and one she had not realized she had missed until now. Lily wandered toward the town square, her heart light with anticipation and nervous energy. Tables laden with pumpkins, caramel apples, and hand-woven crafts dotted the cobblestone paths. Colorful banners fluttered in the gentle breeze, and the scent of fresh cider drifted through the air. She caught glimpses of old friends and familiar faces, and every greeting made her feel the strange tug of being both an outsider and part of this close-knit community. Noah appeared as if drawn by the same invisible thread. He was standing near one of the booths, arranging a display of locally made books and journals for a charity sale connected to the festival. His presence brought an unexpected warmth, and Lily noticed the way his eyes lit up when he saw her approaching. "You made it," he said, his smile effortless, yet carrying a quiet undercurrent of something she could not name. "I wouldn't miss it," she replied, smiling back. There was a familiar ease between them, a rhythm that needed no explanation. They worked together, setting up tables and arranging displays. Their hands brushed occasionally, and each touch sent a surprising spark through Lily's chest. Noah's playful teasing about her meticulous ways drew laughter from her, a sound she realized she had forgotten how much she enjoyed. "You haven't changed a bit," he said, handing her a stack of small journals, still making sure everything is perfectly in place. "I could say the same about you," she countered softly, feeling the warmth of the moment settle over her. He laughed, a low, familiar sound that made her heart flutter. As the festival came alive with music, laughter, and the chatter of families, Lily and Noah found themselves swept into the rhythm of the day. They sampled pumpkin pies, cheered as children bobbed for apples, and shared stories of mischief from their youth. Every glance, every brush of hands, carried a weight of unspoken words and lingering emotions. When the afternoon sun cast long, golden shadows across the square, they found a quiet bench beneath a maple tree. Noah leaned back, watching the leaves fall round them. "Do you remember when we used to play here?" he asked, his voice soft. "I do," Lily said, her eyes tracing the familiar patterns in the bark. "I used to think nothing could ever be more magical than this town in the fall." He turned to look at her, his gaze lingering. "I think I still feel that way," he admitted. His voice held a vulnerability that made her chest tighten. "Maybe more than ever." They sat in companionable silence for a few moments, listening to the distant laughter and the soft rustle of the leaves. The connection between them was palpable, a quiet understanding that neither needed to define just yet. It was enough to sit together, to feel the warmth of familiarity and the tentative pull of something more. As the festival drew to a close and the sky deepened into hues of amber and rose, Lily realized that the sparks she felt were not just nostalgia. They were the beginning of something she had not dared to hope for, something that had been waiting for her all along. When they finally stood to leave, Noah offered his arm, and she took it without hesitation. Walking side by side through the falling leaves, Lily felt a surge of hope and a sense of belonging she had not felt in years. Perhaps some connections could withstand the passage of time. And perhaps, in this season of change, new possibilities were just beginning to bloom. Chapter 3. Coffee and confession. Soft chime of the bookstore bell greeted Lily as she stepped inside Noah's shop. The warm scent of old paper mingled with freshly baked pastries, creating a comfort that wrapped around her like a familiar blanket. Sunlight filtered through the tall windows, casting golden rectangles across the wooden floor, and the quiet hum of gentle music added a calm rhythm to the space. Noah appeared from behind the counter with a mug in each hand, steam curling upward. "I saved you a spot by the window," he said, smiling. His eyes met hers and held a hint of anticipation, the kind that made her stomach flutter in a way she had almost forgotten. "Thank you," she said, settling into the worn armchair. The cushions embraced her like an old friend. She took a sip of the warm coffee, savoring the richness and the faint sweetness, and felt a sense of ease that had been missing from her city life. They sat in companionable silence for a moment, watching the street outside, where leaves danced in the wind. Noah leaned back in his chair, letting his gaze wander over the shelves filled with books that smelled of adventure, love, and history. "I have to ask," he began, his voice gentle. "What made you come back now?" Lily looked down at her cup, tracing the rim with her fingers. Memories of the years away flashed in her mind. The long nights of loneliness, the constant noise of the city, and the fleeting victories that never felt like enough. "I think I needed to remember who I am," she said softly, And maybe I needed to remember what it feels like to belong somewhere. Noah nodded, listening intently, his eyes warm and unjudging. You always had a strong sense of yourself, he said. I remember that even as kids. But it takes courage to come back, to face the past and the people you left behind. A quiet smile tugged at Lily's lips. I suppose it does. And yet being here feels right. Even with everything I left unfinished, it feels like coming home. The conversation drifted effortlessly to memories of their childhood. They laughed about secret hideouts and summer adventures. The silly dares they had taken, and the books they had shared in quiet corners of the town library. Every word, every story, seemed to draw them closer. The air between them was charged with nostalgia, and the subtle thrill of something unspoken. Noah leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had stayed closer? He asked, his voice tinged with a curiosity that held deeper longing. Lily looked up at him, catching the flicker of vulnerability in his eyes. I do, she admitted, more than I care to admit sometimes. I wonder if things could have been different, if we could have been different together. He smiled softly, a mixture of hope and hesitation. Maybe it is different now, he said. Maybe the timing is finally right for us to find out. Her heart skipped a beat at his words. There was no pressure, no expectation, only the gentle possibility of what could be. The world outside the bookstore continued its quiet rhythm, but inside, a connection that had lain dormant for years began to awaken. They lingered for hours, sharing stories, dreams, and quiet confessions. The coffee cooled in their mugs, but the warmth in the room and between them only grew. By the time Lily stood to leave, the sky outside had taken on the soft glow of late afternoon. And she felt a lightness in her chest she had not felt in years. Noah walked her to the door, and for a moment, their hands brushed as she reached for the handle. The contact was fleeting, yet it sent a clear message. They both felt it. There was history here, but also something new, something delicate and promising that had yet to fully bloom. I hope we can do this again, Noah said, his voice low and sincere. Lily smiled, feeling the warmth of his presence linger long after she stepped out onto the street. I would like that, she said. And as she walked away, the autumn leaves swirling at her feet, she realized that coming home had given her more than memories. It had given her a chance to begin again, to rediscover a bond that had never truly faded. Chapter 4. A Walk Through. Memoria's sun hung low in the sky, casting long golden streaks across the familiar paths of the town park. Lily walked slowly, her hands tucked into the pockets of her coat, as if holding on to both the chill of the autumn air and the warmth of her memories. Each step stirred a carpet of fallen leaves, their crisp sound echoing like whispers of the past. She had walked this path countless times as a child, racing with Noah to see who could reach the old oak tree first. But today each detail seemed magnified, every corner a reminder of simpler times. Noah fell into step beside her, his presence steady and comforting. He did not speak immediately, allowing the rhythm of their steps to carry them through the park. Lily noticed the way the sunlight caught in his hair, the familiar calm in his posture, and she felt a flutter of emotion she had not anticipated. Years apart had changed them both. Yet some things remained untouched, the quiet bond that had grown between them long before adulthood had set in. You used to run ahead of me every single time, Noah said finally, his voice soft with amusement. Lily laughed, the sound mingling with the rustle of leaves. And you always pretended I wasn't faster, she replied. I thought I could never beat you. But I always did in the end. Their conversation drifted easily into memories. They talked about the treehouse they had built together, the countless afternoons spent reading and sharing secrets, and the silly dares they had challenged each other to in the fading light of summer. Each story was a thread weaving them closer together, a tapestry of a friendship that had never truly faded. They stopped near a small pond, its surface reflecting the fiery hues of the late afternoon sky. Noah leaned against the railing, watching a few ducks glide across the water. Lily joined him, and for a moment, they both remained silent, absorbed in the quiet beauty of the park. "I miss this," Lily said at last, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't realize how much until I came back." Noah turned to her, his gaze steady and warm. "I missed you," he admitted, "even when you were away. I never stopped noticing when you weren't around." Her chest tightened at his words. The honesty in his voice carried a vulnerability she had not expected, and it opened a space within her own heart she had kept guarded for too long. "I missed you too," she confessed. "More than I thought I would." For a few moments, they simply stood together, the wind tugging gently at their coats and hair. Lily reached out, almost instinctively, and their hands brushed. The contact was light, fleeting, but enough to send a spark through both of them. It was a reminder that some connections, even when dormant, never truly fade. They continued walking, slowly, taking in the familiar sights with a new awareness. The park seemed alive in a way it never had before, filled with the possibility of beginnings rather than the weight of the past. Every glance, every touch, was infused with a quiet intensity, an unspoken understanding that they were no longer just the children who had played here. They were two people with shared histories and shared hopes, standing on the cusp of something more. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Noah stopped and looked at her. "I don't want to rush anything," he said softly, "but I want to see where this could go, with us." Lily met his gaze, her heart swelling with a mixture of excitement and relief. "I think I want that too," she replied, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her chest. They lingered for a moment longer, savoring the quiet intimacy of the park, before heading back toward the town streets. Each step felt lighter, each breath infused with the warmth of renewed connection. The past had shaped them, but the present held promise, and as they walked side by side, Lily felt a sense of hope she had not allowed herself to feel in years. The season had changed, and perhaps, so had they. Chapter 5. The rainy afternoon clouds rolled in slowly, soft grey veils stretching across the autumn sky. Lily had just stepped out of her favorite coffee shop, a small indulgence before running errands, when the first drops of rain began to fall. They were gentle at first, tapping against her umbrella and the cobblestones in a rhythmic patter. Within minutes, the drizzle became heavier, and she realized she would have to find shelter quickly. "Need some help?" a familiar voice called. Lily looked up and saw Noah jogging toward her, a worn canvas jacket shielding him from the rain. He held a spare umbrella in one hand and offered it with a grin that made her heart skip. "You always manage to find trouble, don't you?" he teased, his voice warm despite the damp chill in the air. "I call it adventure," she shot back with a laugh, taking the umbrella from him. His hand brushed hers briefly, and she felt a jolt of familiarity, the way her body had remembered the comfort of his presence. They walked together down the wet streets, laughing at their soaked shoes and the way the wind carried raindrops in unpredictable arcs. Noah suggested taking refuge in a nearby cafe he knew well, a cozy little place with folded windows and the smell of cinnamon and roasted coffee beans. As they entered, the warmth and soft chatter of the other patrons wrapped around them like a comforting hug. They found a corner table by the window, where they could watch the rain blur the world outside. Noah ordered a steaming cup of cocoa for Lily and a coffee for himself, and they settled into the worn chairs, the intimacy of the small space making the outside storm feel distant and muted. "I never realized how much I missed this," Lily said, tracing her fingers along the rim of her mug. The warmth seeped into her palms, grounding her in the present, not just the rain or the cafes, but these quiet moments with someone who understands. Noah met her gaze, his expression soft. "I know exactly what you mean," he said. "It's the little things, the unexpected pauses in the chaos that make you realize what really matters." The rain drummed steadily against the windows as they talked. Stories of past heartbreaks emerged gently, confessions that neither had shared with many people. Lily spoke of the loneliness she had felt in the city, the career successes that never quite filled the void, and the longing for connection that had brought her home. Noah shared his fears of stagnation, the pressure of staying rooted while watching the world move on, and the moments he had wondered if some opportunities were lost forever. Each revelation deepened their connection, weaving trust between them in threads both tender and strong. They laughed at their missteps, sympathized with each other's struggles, and discovered new facets of one another. The storm outside mirrored the torrent of emotions within them, both intense and cleansing. At one point, their hands met across the table, hesitant at first, then more confident. Neither spoke, letting the contact convey what words could not yet capture. The electricity between them was palpable, a silent acknowledgement of the bond that had been building since Lily returned. When the rain finally softened into a gentle drizzle, they stood to leave. Stepping out into the cool, misty air, the streets glistened with reflections of the town's lights, and the scent of wet leaves was intoxicating. Noah offered his arm, and she took it, feeling the comfort and steadiness of his presence. As they walked side by side toward the bookstore, Lily realized that the rainy afternoon had given her more than shelter. It had reminded her of the joy in shared silence, the power of vulnerability, and the warmth that came from being seen by someone who truly understood. For the first time in years, she felt entirely at home, and entirely alive, in the presence of someone who had never really left her heart. Chapter 6. Holiday preparations. First hints of winter had begun to settle over the town. Frost kissed the edges of window panes in the early mornings, and the scent of pine and cinnamon drifted from shop windows. The town square was alive with preparations for the annual winter festival, a celebration that had always brought warmth and joy to the cold season. Lily walked among the bustling streets, her coat wrapped tightly around her, feeling the thrill of anticipation mingling with the crisp air. Noah was already at the square when she arrived, carrying a crate of decorations toward the central pavilion. His jacket was dusted with pine needles, and a smudge of paint streaked his cheek. He looked up when he saw her and grinned, the kind of smile that made her heart flutter without warning. "Right on time," he said, handing her a set of garlands. "I could use an extra pair of hands, and you're officially better at this than anyone I know." Lily laughed, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I suppose some things never change," she said, taking the garlands and arranging them with careful precision. "I've had practice with perfection over the years." They worked together through the day, hanging twinkling lights, setting up wreaths, and arranging colorful ornaments on the tall pine at the center of the square. Passers-by smiled at their easy banter and playful teasing, noting the comfort and familiarity that radiated between them. Each brush of hands, each shared glance, carried a quiet intimacy that neither could ignore. At one point, Noah stepped back, surveying their work, and a mischievous glint appeared in his eyes. "You know, you're making it almost impossible for me to focus on anything else," he said, his voice low and teasing. Lily felt her cheeks warm, but she returned the look with a smile of her own. "Maybe you just need to pay attention," she replied. "Or perhaps you enjoy being distracted." The afternoon's sun began to dip, casting a golden glow over the square. Lily and Noah took a moment to step back and admire their work. The lights, reflected off the frost-kissed branches, and the freshly laid decorations brought a sense of magic to the chilly evening. The townspeople wandered by, commenting on the beauty. But for Lily and Noah, the satisfaction of shared efforts was even more rewarding. As they carried the last box of ornaments back toward the pavilion, Noah paused and looked at her. "You know, I've never felt quite this happy working on decorations before," he said softly. "Maybe it's because I'm not doing it alone." Lily's heart swelled at his words. "I think I feel the same way," she admitted. It's Not just the festival, it's this, being here with you. They shared a quiet moment, the hum of the festival around them fading into the background. The warmth of their closeness was tangible. A gentle, steady current flowing between them. In the midst of laughter, chores, and festive chaos, they found a private bubble of connection that made the world feel right. As evening fell and the first stars began to twinkle in the winter sky, Lily and Noah stood side by side beneath the glow of the newly strung lights. The air was crisp, but the warmth in their hearts was undeniable. Small acts of kindness, gentle teasing, and shared effort had woven them together in ways that words could not yet capture. Walking home later, their steps fell in sync. Crunching over frost-laced leaves, Lily realized that the holiday preparations were more than just a festival tradition. They were a reflection of the growing bond between them, a promise that, even in the coldest seasons, warmth could be found in shared moments, laughter, and the simple joy of being together. Chapter 7. A moment of vulnerability. Town square was quiet now, the festive bustle having faded into a gentle evening hush. Snow began to fall lightly, each delicate flake catching the glow of the street lamps as it drifted down. Lily and Noah walked side by side along the cobblestone streets, their scarves wrapped snugly and their breaths visible in the chilly air. The warmth of the day's shared laughter and effort still lingered between them, but beneath it lay an unspoken tension, the kind that comes when hearts are edging toward honesty. They stopped near the little bridge that arched over the frozen creek, its wooden beams dusted with fresh snow. Noah leaned against the railing, gazing at the softly rippling water beneath the thin ice. Lily stood beside him, quiet for a moment, letting the silence stretch comfortably before speaking. "I've been thinking a lot about why I came back," she said finally, her voice low. "It's not just the town, or the memories, I think I was looking for a place where I could feel grounded again." Noah turned to her, his eyes reflecting the soft glow of the nearby lamps. "I understand that," he said gently. "It's hard to feel rooted when you've spent so long moving from one place to another, chasing dreams that never quite fit." Lily nodded, feeling the weight of unspoken years pressing lightly on her chest. "I left because I wanted more. I wanted experiences, adventure, a life that felt bigger than this small town. But I didn't realize that in chasing everything, I lost something too. I lost the feeling of home." Her voice cracked slightly, and she looked down at the snow-covered ground. Noah reached out and lightly brushed a strand of hair from her face. His touch was careful, respectful, yet it carried an intimacy that made her heart thrum. "I think that's why we're here now," he said softly. "Because home isn't just a place. It's where the people who matter are, where the heart feels at peace." She lifted her gaze to him, meeting the honesty in his eyes. For a moment, words failed them both, replaced by the warmth of shared understanding. Then Noah exhaled slowly, as if summoning courage, and took a step closer. "Lily, I've been afraid," he confessed. "Afraid of losing connections, afraid of being left behind, afraid that the people I care about might slip away. I don't hold on tight enough." Her heart ached at his admission. She reached out and took his hand in hers, feeling the familiar strength in his grip. "I've been afraid too," she whispered. "Afraid of failing, of leaving, of making choices that take me away from the people I love. But I also know that some connections, some people, are worth risking everything for." Noah's hand tightened gently around hers. "I think I've known that about us for a long time," he said, his voice barely audible over the soft sound of falling snow. "I just needed to hear it from you, to know that you feel the same way." Tears prickled at the corners of Lily's eyes, but she smiled through them, feeling lighter than she had in years. "I do," she said. "I feel it, more than I ever realized." They stood together on the bridge, the snow swirling around them like a gentle cocoon, and for the first time, the weight of the past seemed to lift. Their hearts had been cautious, scarred by distance and time, yet here, in the quiet intimacy of shared vulnerability, they found courage. Courage to hope, courage to trust, and courage to begin again. Noah leaned his forehead lightly against hers, and she felt the steady beat of his heart beneath her hand. Words were no longer necessary. They had spoken volumes through the honesty of their fears and the warmth of their presence. In that moment, surrounded by the hush of snow and the faint glow of the town lights, Lily realized that love was not about perfection or timing. It was about showing up, about being willing to be seen, and about holding on to the people who mattered. Even when it scared you. As they walked back toward the warmly lit streets, their hands entwined, Lily felt a quiet certainty bloom within her. They had opened themselves to each other, and in doing so, they had planted the seeds for a love that could grow. Unafraid of the seasons ahead. Chapter 8. The first Kissed Winter Festival had reached its peak as evening fell, and the town square was bathed in the soft glow of twinkling lights. Snow blanketed the cobblestones, muffling footsteps and creating a quiet, magical world. Lily wandered among the stalls, sipping hot cider and taking in the scent of pine and baked goods. The air was alive with laughter and music, yet there was a hush of intimacy between her and Noah, an unspoken tension that had been building with each shared glance and gentle touch over the past weeks. Noah appeared beside her, his scarf dusted with snowflakes, and offered a hand. "May I?" he asked with a playful smile that made her heart flutter. She took his hand without hesitation, feeling the warmth of his touch seeping through her gloves and straight into her chest. They walked slowly through the festival, stopping to admire the lights and the small decorations that townspeople had placed around the square. Children ran past, their laughter ringing like bells, and couples huddled together beneath umbrellas and scarves. But for Lily and Noah, the world had narrowed to the space between them. The quiet electricity that neither could deny. They found a secluded corner near the fountain, its water frozen into delicate icicles, reflecting the golden lights above. Snowflakes settled softly on their coats and hair, and the sound of distant music created a perfect backdrop for the moment that had been quietly approaching. Noah looked at her, his gaze deep and unwavering. "Lily," he whispered, his voice low, carrying both hope and vulnerability. "I don't want to waste another moment." Her heart leapt at his words, and she felt the courage swell within her. "Neither do I," she replied, her voice barely audible over the soft hum of the festival around them. He reached up, brushing a strand of hair from her face, his fingers lingering against her cheek. Lily felt a shiver of anticipation, a thrill that came not from the cold, but from the nearness of him. Their eyes met, holding the weight of months of unspoken feelings, of confessions and shared moments, of laughter and quiet vulnerability. Slowly, deliberately, Noah leaned closer. Lily felt her breath catch. His lips met hers in a tender, heartfelt kiss. It was gentle at first, soft and cautious, as if both were savoring the moment, afraid to rush what had been long awaited. Then the kiss deepened, filled with warmth, longing, and the unmistakable joy of finally being together. Time seemed to pause around them. The falling snow became a blur. The laughter and music faded into the background, and there was only the feeling of belonging, of being seen and held in a way that neither had experienced before. Lily's hands rested on his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart, and she realized that every step that had led them here had been worth it. When they finally parted, their foreheads pressed together, their breaths mingling in the cold air, Lily could still feel the electricity lingering between them. Noah smiled, his eyes sparkling with warmth and tenderness. "I've waited a long time for that," he said softly. "Me too," Lily admitted, her cheeks flushed and her heart racing. She reached up to cup his face, memorizing the curve of his jaw and the familiar gentleness in his gaze. They stayed there for a few more moments, wrapped in each other and the quiet magic of the festival. Around them, the town celebrated, but for Lily and Noah, the world had contracted to a perfect, glowing bubble of snow, light, and the promise of a love that had finally been set free, walking back through the snowy streets hand in hand. Lily realized that this was more than a first kiss. It was a beginning, a turning point, and a tangible confirmation that the bond between them had endured the seasons, growing stronger and more beautiful than either had dared to hope. Chapter 9. Winter reflections. Town had settled into the quiet rhythm of winter. Snow-covered rooftops and streets in a soft, unbroken blanket, and the glow of street lamps reflected off the ice-crusted sidewalks. Lily sat by the window of her favorite little cafe, a cup of steaming tea warming her hands. Outside, the world was hushed and serene, but inside, her thoughts were alive with reflection. She thought of the weeks since she had returned home, the laughter, the stolen glances, and the growing closeness with Noah. Every moment with him had been a discovery, a gentle unfolding of something she had thought she had lost forever. Memories of their childhood intertwined seamlessly with their present, creating a tapestry that was both comforting and exhilarating. Noah slid into the seat across from her, shaking off his coat and smiling with that familiar warmth that made her chest swell. "You've been quiet," he observed, his voice soft and knowing. "I've been thinking," she admitted, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup, "about how much has changed, and yet how much feels the same. Coming back here has made me realize what I truly want, and who I want to share it with." He reached across the table, covering her hand with his. "I think I know exactly what you mean," he said. "Being with you, seeing you here, it has made everything feel right in a way I didn't know I needed." They walked together after the cafe, the crisp winter air biting gently at their cheeks. Their scarves were wrapped loosely around their necks, and snowflakes clung to their hair and coats. The town was quiet, the streets glistening under the soft glow of the lamps, and the silence allowed them to talk about the past, present, and future without interruption. Noah spoke about his hopes for the coming year, about the bookstore and the little improvements he wanted to make, about the events he dreamed of organizing for the town. Lily listened, sharing her own aspirations, her desire to build a life that balanced the love for her work and the love for this place and the people who made it home. At times, their conversation lapsed into comfortable silence, where just being near one another was enough. They would glance at each other, their eyes conveying gratitude, love, and the quiet thrill of knowing that they had found each other again. Every touch, whether a brush of hands or a gentle squeeze, reminded them that their connection was no longer tentative. It was real and present, woven into the fabric of their days. They stopped at the small bridge over the frozen creek, the same one where they had shared so many confessions in recent weeks. Noah leaned on the railing, his breath visible in the cold air. "I never want to take this for granted," he said softly. "Every moment with you feels like something I've been waiting for my entire life." Lily felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. "I know," she whispered. "I've been afraid of hoping too much, but being with you makes it easy to believe in the future, in us." They stood together for a long moment, hand in hand, watching the snow drift silently over the town. The past had shaped them, the time apart had tested them, but in this moment, everything aligned. They had grown, they had healed, and they had found each other again, stronger and more certain than ever. Walking back toward the warmly lit streets, they talked quietly about small plans, little adventures, and the joy of simply being together. The world was wide and uncertain, but they had each other, and that was enough. For the first time in a long time, Lily felt grounded, secure, and filled with a deep sense of belonging. The winter around them was cold, but their hearts were warm, and that warmth carried them forward into the promise of a new season. Chapter 10. Seasons of Us. First light of morning filtered through the frosted windows, casting a gentle glow over the town. Lily sat by the window, a warm mug of tea cradled in her hands, and watched the snowflakes drift lazily to the ground. Each flake seemed to carry a memory, a whisper of the past months, and she felt a quiet contentment settle over her. Returning home had been more than a visit. It had been a rediscovery, a reclaiming of the parts of herself she had left behind. Noah entered the room carrying 2 mugs, steam curling into the cool air. He placed one in front of her and smiled, that familiar warmth lighting his eyes. "Morning," he said softly. "Did you sleep well?" "Better than I have in years," she replied, her smile sincere. "I feel at peace, like I'm finally where I'm supposed to be." He sat beside her, their shoulders touching. "I feel the same," he said. "Being here with you, sharing these small, quiet moments, It makes everything feel right. The town, the seasons, us. It all fits together. Lily reached out, intertwining her fingers with his. I think I've realized something, she said thoughtfully. I spent so long chasing the world, looking for meaning, and I forgot that some of the most important things are right in front of you. People, moments, love. They don't need to be found, only recognized. Noah nodded, squeezing her hand gently. And recognizing it makes all the difference, he said. We had to go through everything to get here. But now that we have, it feels like the beginning of something enduring. The day unfolded with quiet joy. They wandered through the snow-covered streets, visited the little shops, and helped finalize the last touches for the winter festival. Children's laughter echoed as they built small snowmen and tossed soft snowballs at one another. Lily and Noah shared laughter of their own, playful and easy, full of the comfort that comes from a love rooted in years of connection and understanding. As evening fell, the town square glowed with lights and decorations, a reflection of the warmth that had grown between them. The festival continued around them, but they found a quiet corner beneath the central pine tree. Noah took Lily's hands in his and looked deeply into her eyes. I want to stay, he said simply. I want to face all the seasons with you by my side. Lily felt her heart swell with joy and certainty. I want that too, she whispered, the words carrying all the hope, love, and gratitude she felt. I'm ready to stay, to build a life here, together. Snow fell gently around them, twinkling like the lights above as they embraced. There was no rush, no uncertainty, only the steady assurance that they had found each other again. Their kiss was soft and lingering, a promise that this time, nothing would pull them apart. Walking home hand in hand, the quiet streets blanketed in snow, Lily realized that coming back had been more than a return. It had been a season of growth, of reflection, and ultimately, of love. The seasons would continue to change, bringing challenges and joys, but they would face them together, grounded in trust, warmth, and a bond that had endured the test of time. As they stepped into the cozy glow of the bookstore and then into their shared life, Lily felt the full depth of belonging. Home was not just the streets, the familiar corners, or the festivals. Home was in the shared laughter, the soft confessions, the first kiss under the snow, and the quiet certainty of being with the person who had always held her heart. The world outside was winter, cold and sparkling, but inside, their hearts were warm. Seasons would come and go, yet this love, nurtured over time, would remain steadfast. Lily and Noah smiled at each other, knowing that some connections are timeless and some love stories are meant to last through every season of life.